Okay, so let's talk about a puzzle that trips up even the smartest investors. We're talking about why we all seem to make the same predictable bad decisions with our money. And the answer? It isn't in some complicated financial report, it's actually inside your own head. Let's dive in. So here is the big mystery. Have you ever done this? You have a stock, it's up a little bit, and you feel this overwhelming urge to just sell it right now, just to lock in that win. Or on the flip side, you're holding on to a loser, telling yourself, oh, it'll come back, even as it just keeps sinking. If you felt that, you are definitely not alone. It's a deeply human and, as it turns out, a deeply irrational pattern. Now, it's easy to chalk this up to a lack of discipline, or maybe not being savvy enough with finance. But the research points to something way more fundamental. These mistakes aren't really about how smart you are. They're about how our brains are literally hardwired. We're talking about a biological impulse that we really need to understand. So to get a handle on this impulse, we first have to give it a name. And thankfully, behavioral economists have studied this exact thing for years. And they've identified it as a really powerful cognitive bias that affects, well, pretty much all of us. It's called the disposition effect. It's a fancy term, I know, but all it's really describing is that exact gut feeling we just talked about, that rush to cash in on our winners, and the stubborn refusal to admit we messed up on our losers. This is actually one of the most well-documented biases in all of behavioral finance. This slide just lays out the conflict perfectly, doesn't it? On one hand, you have the classic investment wisdom. Cut your losses short and let your winners run. But then there's the disposition effect, our irrational impulse, which tells us to do the exact opposite. So the real question is, why on earth are we wired to do the very thing that works against us? To answer that, we have to go a little deeper. We need to actually look inside the brain at the very moment you're hovering over that sell button. And this is where neuroscience gives us a pretty incredible, and honestly, a slightly unsettling answer. So the main character, or maybe the main culprit in this whole story, is a small, ancient part of your brain called the striatum. You can think of it as this hidden puppet master, pulling the strings on your financial decisions without you even realizing it. So what does this thing do? Well, the striatum is basically your brain's internal reward center. It's the part that gives you that little jolt of pleasure when you eat something amazing or score a point in a video game. It's designed to reinforce behaviors that feel good. And as it turns out, it absolutely loves the feeling of locking in a win. And here's the stone-cold proof. Researchers used fMRI scans to literally watch people's brains while they made trades. And just look at this data. The neuroactivity in the striatum absolutely skyrockets when someone sells a winning stock. That is a massive reward signal, way, way higher than just holding on to that same winner. Your brain is literally giving you a chemical high for selling early. And this leads us right into what we can call the satisfaction trap. See, that powerful feeling of reward is so compelling that it can just steamroll our logical, strategic thinking. We end up getting trapped by what feels good in the moment, not by what's actually a good decision. Now, scientists have a term for this psychological high. They call it realization utility. It's the pleasure you get purely from the act of making a gain real, turning that number on a screen into actual cash. And here's the crucial part. This feeling is completely separate from whether selling at that moment is a smart financial move or not. This really brings it all home. Your brain's reward system, it's not some sophisticated financial analyst. It doesn't care about your 5-year plan or the stock's future potential. It just knows that hitting the sell button on a winner feels fantastic, and it wants you to do it again and again. It rewards the action, not the outcome. So this all sounds a bit daunting, right? Like we're fighting our own biology. But here's the good news. Simply understanding that this mechanism exists is the first and biggest step to overcoming it. This isn't financial advice, but it is cognitive advice. Just being aware gives you the power to pause. So the next time you feel that itch to sell a winner, try running through this simple mental checklist. First, just pause. Acknowledge that feeling is there. Second, question it. Ask yourself, am I selling for a sound strategic reason, or am I just chasing that little jolt of realization utility? And third, reframe the whole thing. Remind yourself that the goal isn't to feel good for a second, it's to build wealth for the long run. Let's end with this question, because it's really the heart of the matter. That ancient, reward-seeking part of your brain will always, always crave that quick, satisfying win. That's not going to change. But your long-term financial health, that depends on something else entirely. on patience, on strategy, and on the wisdom to let your winners keep running. The real choice is learning to tell the difference between what feels good and what is good.